Hello everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Dragon Bedtime Stories. But before we do so, let us go and actually unlock a story first.
What is it?
I already got Phoenix and Cerberus unlocked. I need to go and unlock Brunhilda's story. And just look at her, completely naked. What a figure that she's got. An enemy goes out there into ash. Remember better. Never bored when I'm with you. So many people here. Dragons, I know I'm your favorite, right? How can a dragon be like this? Well, there, I just fed her. Now let's see what she says. Love make humans and dragons stronger. Let's see what exactly turned this thing the way she is. Well, let's begin by confirming it now. Brunhilda, Flameworm, and Butterfly. Now, let's begin our story sequence. The Flameworm's earliest memory was that of a tiny butterfly alighting on the tip of her snout after she descended the volcano as a hatchling. "Who are you?" asked the curious Flameworm. "I am Butterfly," answered the tiny creature. The Flameworm believes that she and this small insect was two of a kind, as they both bore wings of brightest red. They spent a summer of laughter and joys together, but as autumn's chill crept across the land, it came time for Butterfly to depart. The aged Butterfly lay on the tip of the Flameworm's snout and said in a small, weak voice, "I'm afraid my life is at its end." "No!" cried the Flameworm. "Our friendship is still young, and already we must say goodbye." "No, not already. Our lifetime with a different worth. I have lived, had children, and grown old, while to you, but an instant has passed. You aren't like me. You are far, far more special." Bah! And with that, she moved no more. For centuries, the Flameworm lay dormant in the fields, dreaming of her time with Butterfly. Then humans came and rent the fields asunder. Enraged, the Flameworm set the human colony ablaze and left to make a home for herself elsewhere. In their terror, the humans began referring to her as the Wrathworm, but the Flameworm paid them no mind. Humans paid no heed to short-lived insects after all, and if lifespan determines worth, what reasons have dragons to value humans? "I am more magnificent than any other being," mused the Flameworm. "That is why I live the longest. But that thought brought her no joy. She would have rather lived as the tiny butterfly. If only it could have been so. That's a rather sad chapter. Let's go and see the second chapter now. Flameworm and Butterfly, Part 2. The Flameworm again shut herself in a volcano that none dared approach. She had no visitors, but also avoided her hated farewells. The years passed in solitude, and the Flameworm's memories of her friends faded until she seemed only a distant dream, which was exactly how she wished it to be. Ages elapsed, and the shape of the land itself shifted. There seemed no creature of merit to the immortal Flameworm. But one day, her ears perked to whispers of a human king, Alberius, to whom ancient dragons had been swearing allegiance. The Flameworm traveled to the Windworm's nest. "Why aid them?" she asked. "It is foolishness. All they do is scrabble about and then perish. They are nothing like us." The Windworm smiled. "That is for the best. Short-lived they may be, but they leave their mark upon the world. They are beautiful." At this, the Flameworm scoffed, though she was beset with thoughts of the small butterfly she befriended all those many years ago. The sight of her fluttering thoughts, the air truly was beautiful. Well, fluttering through the air was truly beautiful. Rearing her head, the flame worm saw a swarm of butterflies in the field, frolicking on red wings identical to those of her long-gone friend. At this, she suddenly wondered if her friend had left a mark upon the world after all, for it seemed her life, and those of all creatures, wove together over time to form a greater tapestry. Perhaps all creatures were just as deserving of this respect they showed to those larger than themselves. Preposterous, thought the stubborn dragon. We are the superior beings. It would be some time until the flame worm came around. Not, in fact, until she met a certain prince. Well, now we see how that goes about. Well, I could see why she would get attached. I mean, like, the butterfly eventually gave birth and all that wonderful jazz. Perhaps Brunhilda wishes for something like this as well. Could be very interesting. Well, since we're still on the topic of immortality, let us go with Phoenix this time. Phoenix's Remedy, Part 1. In southern Gracia, legends speak of a miraculous spring deep in the mountains, including one that could bring a person back from the brink of death itself. Near that spring lived a dragon who took the shape of a beautiful woman. Though none knew for certain what her true form was, one day there came a group of mercenaries. The commander carried in his arms a fighter, his son, who had been badly wounded in combat. The commander then begged the woman to use the spring to save his son's life. When the dragon refused, the man was incredulous. All manners of beasts heal themselves in this spring. Do you claim that the life of my son is worth less than an animal's? It's not a question of worth, but of purity, replied the dragons. You and your son killed scores for naught but coin. Yet when animals kill, they do so only to survive. Her words enraged the commander. We may kill for coin, but we need that coin to live. It is no different from your beloved animals. The commander drew his blade and slashed the dragon's throat, then laid his son in the spring, but nothing happened, for it only worked miracles at the behest of the dragon. There, besides the reddened spring, the commander learned his son's fate has been decided long before they had even arrived. Poor bastard. And there's a second part of this. How interesting. I mean, that would have been a perfect conclusion already. But I guess we're going to talk about how Phoenix comes back. Laying his son in the spring did not heal his wounds, nor stop his bleeding. For the water's mana was lost when the commander killed the dragon in his rage. Before long, his son drew his last breath. Overcome with grief, the commander bade his men gather firewoods with which to burn the remains. The commander laid the dragon's body beside his son's and mourned, filled with belated fear and sorrow for slaughtering the dragon. When they burned her body, the corpse rose up along the flames and unfurled a great pair of wings. The dragon looked towards the terrified commander as she spoke. At this very moment, a child has been born in the distant land. He is your son, reincarnated. Though you will never see this child in your lifetime, your son's soul yet lives upon this earth. Rejoice. Her words made the commander realize that, while his son's body could not be saved, at least his soul had been spared, and so he wept and was glad for it. That dragon was called Phoenix. If she is killed, she will rise from the flames to live again. Her flesh may be temporary, but her soul is eternal. As it is with her, so it is with all. Well, that was an interesting story. And that is why Phoenix is cool and I had to spend money to get her. Alright, and finally, we'll go with Cerberus. Apparently, our friend Brunhilda's pal. So, let's go and see. Maybe she'll be mentioned. After all, they show up both in Fireside Gathering. Hell's Justice Part 1. One day, Cerberus, gatekeeper of the underworld, was taking a rare stroll along the surface world. "What a lovely day," she said. "It's perfect for going on a walk." The fluffy dogs on the tree seemed to be enjoying it just as much. "This is so much fun," said one. "I'm having a great time," said the other. "Work's been non-stop lately." Walking along, they noticed an old woman at the edge of a cliff. "Uh-oh, she looked really pale. I think maybe she's about to jump. Hey lady, what are you doing?" The woman explained that her son led a gang of heinous bandits who were responsible for destroying many a village, and that she sought to atone for his dark deeds with her life. "Wait, why?" said one of the dogs. "It won't do nothing," said the other. "I agree," said Cerberus. "Do not cast your life away so needlessly. Only the person who committed a crime can atone for it. Do you really think people would forgive your son simply because you are dead?" Hearing this, the woman stepped back from the cliff, but she was still clearly shaken and desperate to do something in response to her son's odious actions. "Well, I'm starting to feel like a bit of exercise," says Cerberus. "All right, I'll teach your son a lesson." Cerberus took one of the bandits' things from his mother. "I still smell scent on it." "Yeah, me too. It's over this way." "That mountain? Pah, let's go." Cerberus made her way towards the mountain, following the scent. "It's time to have some fun, you two." Now, let's see what kind of fun we're gonna see with Cerberus. Hell's Justice Part 2. Cerberus followed the scent of the bandit leader up towards the mountain of his gang called home. "It's time to have some fun, you two," she cried to the dogs on her hands. In the mountains, she found the gang preparing for a raid the next day. Chuckling to herself, she walked fearlessly toward the group. One particularly large bandit, who was clearly the woman's son, tried to scare her off with threats. Undaunted, Cerberus decided to address the ruffians directly. "Do you know what happens to people who do bad things when they die?" The bandits all gave an uproarious laugh and rushed at Cerberus with weapons raised. "Oh dear," she said to herself. "I guess that's how this one is going to go." Cerberus launched Coco and Mimi at their assailants. They flew through the air, fangs bared like dancing blades. "Time to learn your lesson the hard way," Cerberus cried with delight. But the lady's son stood his ground. "Hey, not bad," said one dog. "He's pretty tough," said the other. "Then let's give him a little reward," said a determined Cerberus. Cerberus created a vortex of flame around the bandit, one hot enough to scorch his very soul and turn his skin to flakes of ash. The man let out a howl of agony, but still refused to bend the knee. "Hot, isn't it?" said Cerberus. "And yet the tortures you'll endure in hell are much, much worse. There's no pity or mercy down there, just pain and suffering for all eternity. I don't think you could handle that, do you?" The bandit collapsed to his knees, with a look of horror on his face. Cerberus immediately quenched the flames, then addressed them in a sharp and terrible tone. "You must atone for all the sins you have committed. If you don't, Hell's Gatekeeper will come to claim you." His will to fight well and truly gone, the bandit led his injured men dejectedly down the mountain. It was clear that they would never resort to such mischief again. "Humans are so foolish to not know what they're doing, that they do not know they're doing something wrong until they're warned of it," notes Cerberus. "Ah, but I suppose that's what makes them interesting." Psh, psh. "Ooh, something smells good." As a curiosity pushed by the amazing aroma, Cerberus and her dogs continued this afternoon stroll as if nothing had ever happened. So apparently, Cerberus and her dogs have brain damage. Can't remember things for very long. Kind of like my dogs. Anyway, so that's about it for these wonderful dragon stories. That was kind of interesting. Now, let's go back to the Dragon's Roost again, and I can talk about one last final thing. And that is that you know that stupid bread bug that we're currently having right now?
Bored. Let's do something
You know
fun.
how, like, after giving them something like this? I also like the way Cerberus just celebrates by
You're pretty
spinning
fun.
them.
Come on, let's play
And
some
just
more.
yip, yip, with her puppets.
Here, take this. It's a present from us. Make sure you put it to good use. You hear?
Oh, wow, that's quite a present. And after this, it turns into bread like this. So, it's really easy to fix. I mean, it's not like the best solution in the entire world, but it's better than just forgetting about it. It's not even actually a real solution or anything, but at least it's better than my stupid clovers not being used. Now let's go and see how Phoenix respond. Yay! A kawaii jump.
Next time.
You can see her boobs jiggle.
This is for you. Come see me again, okay?
I don't know why Brunhilda doesn't get a voice. Cerberus does, Phoenix does, but Brunhilda is all like, oh, I'm completely naked. I don't even want to say anything to you. But I gotta say, that's such a great figure that she's got. I feel like it may hurt a little though, but what a great figure she's got. Anyway, so that's about it for my episode of Dragons Bedtime Stories. I thank you all for watching. Until next time.